Summer tends to bring up all of our insecurities and self doubt. If you want to boost your confidence and self worth so that abundance can flow through every aspect of your life, then you need to join my free Summer of Self Love Challenge, where I will teach you 5 simple yet effective strategies to help you reclaim your self worth and receive what you truly desire. Click the link in the show notes to sign up for free. Hello, and welcome back to Breathe More. How is your inner child doing today? That's right. I'm asking about your inner child. Why? Because being aware of how our inner child is feeling, what it's thinking, is going to be so important when it comes to having the awareness and doing the healing work that's required to help us achieve whatever goal that we have set for ourselves. Inner child healing and connection of inner child is so much of the work that I do with my clients. Even in my programs like the Soulful Entrepreneur Mentorship, where we're talking about business, you bet that I'm asking about their inner child when I'm seeing them being afraid of posting on social media. It is so much of the work that I also do in my Dream Bigger Mastermind, which is going to be starting again in September. Can't wait for that. But again, I see how there's so much contraction, and then they get the courage and step out and take action. And then their mind gets all of these stories and all this drama that again, making them contract. So when I help them poke around and identify like what's really at the core of what's coming up for you, these feelings, this fear, this self sabotage, this avoidance, most of the time, I would say about 80% of the time, it is their inner child that is feeling unsafe. And the reason why I wanted for us to reflect and think about and connect with our inner child today is because I'm doing my Summer of Self Love Challenge. And it's all about helping you increase your self confidence and your self worth and your self love. And guess what? It starts with our inner child. If we don't feel deserving, if we don't feel confident, if we don't have strong boundaries, it most likely originated as a survival mechanism or something that you learned, something that was mirrored to you when you were a child. And what I always tell my clients is it served us growing up, it kept us alive, it got us to this point. But is that behavior, is that trauma response still serving you today? Or is it actually creating conflict? That was a big aha moment when I embarked on my healing journey about 15 years ago, where I had no idea of the concept of inner child. I had no idea that when we experience a traumatic event, whether it's little or big, in our childhood, that it can follow us into adulthood, that how we act and behave and how we cope oftentimes comes from that time. And if we didn't develop strong coping mechanisms or healthy coping mechanisms because our parents were so overwhelmed and also just on survival mode because they were struggling with their own mental health, because they were struggling with addiction. All of this is my family, by the way. Then, of course, I didn't learn healthy ways to communicate. I didn't learn how to regulate my nervous system. I didn't understand that feeling the whole range of emotions that humans are able to feel was actually healthy. There were so many emotions that I was afraid of. Most of them was anger and rage because that's what I witnessed in my dad when he was drunk. Even when he wasn't drunk, his anxiety manifested in explosiveness. So I was very afraid when anyone expressed disappointment. Even as an adult, the part of me that's my inner child within me was terrified of disappointing, was terrified of getting in trouble. And so that led to this perfectionism, this obsessiveness of doing everything right, that there was a right way to do things and a wrong way. And even though I wasn't necessarily guided onto what was right and what was wrong, that added a lot of stress too, by the way. I did everything I could to try to predict, how is someone going to react? And it better be a good reaction because if not, then I need to prepare for the other, for the yelling, for the disappointment, for getting in trouble. And then maybe a part of me as well unconsciously, like I did get hit when I was a child as well. That was part of my discipline. And so I sense, even as an adult, it's so much better now because, as I said, I've done so much healing in this. But my inner child, there's still many moments that feels unsafe and questions if she's worthy, wonders if people are going to like her. But going back to being hidden, how it manifests today as an adult, or it did, was that when people voices would raise, when I could see that someone's starting to get upset, I would feel my body starting to contract. My shoulders would start to roll forward. I would start to cry because I was afraid, but also hoping that if I was upset, if I was crying, then that person wouldn't be as mad with me, right? So all of this is really important to think about. Like, what did I learn as a child on how to interact with people? Did I witness people having strong boundaries? Did people say no? Did people advocate for themselves? Or did you witness your mother or the female figure or any caretaker, like just do whatever everyone else wanted, putting themselves last, not knowing how to say no? Maybe you grew up also in an environment where there was violence, where it was unhealthy, where it was chaotic. That made it really difficult for our nervous system to relax, to go into the rest and digest, into the parasympathetic. And so if you're an adult today who's still hypervigilant, who's always worrying, whose mind is always racing, where rest doesn't feel safe, or maybe there's a lot of guilt there, then that's a sign that it is time to do some reparenting. It is time for you to consciously connect with your inner child and see what's going on. How are they feeling? What are they worried about? What are they carrying? And can you start to give permission to them to let go of all of those responsibilities that they had as a child that really they shouldn't have? That wasn't a role that a child needed to have. That's an adult's job. And yet, given what you experienced, you were given those responsibilities. And so once you connect with your inner child and you start to give permission to let go, to forgive, to learn how to play, that was something that play, where it's supposed to be so natural for children and fun. Play was actually dangerous for me. I oftentimes got in trouble because I am someone who's very adventurous and I'm an explorer. I mean, I'm a Sagittarius. Hello. It's in my DNA. It's in the stars of when I was born. And so as a curious child, I would go explore. And instead of that being encouraged, I would get in trouble. I would get yelled at. I would get smacked. And also, it was during that time that my dad was drinking very heavily. So I was given from a very young age a lot of adult responsibilities to help my mom with the household, whether it was cleaning, helping her cook, helping her take care of my three sisters. I'm the oldest. And then also, literally, my dad would ask me for help. My dad asked me to help me one time, I remember vividly, when he was drunk and my mom was saying that she was going to leave him. He came to me crying and asked for my help when I was 7 years old. So imagine the impact that that left in me. now I had to be an adult. I couldn't be a kid who got in trouble, who fought with my sisters. I had to become this perfect, almost invisible as well, because I didn't want to make any trouble so that hopefully my dad wouldn't drink anymore. So, all of that, I've had to heal and reparent within my own inner child so that she can start to feel free, so that that anxiety that I lived with my whole life, constant anxiety, could finally disappear, so that I could feel safe in resting, taking a break, so that I wouldn't have anxiety coming up when my friends, even as adults, wanted to be playful. That one is still a challenge for me, to be completely honest with you. Like, I still get nerves. And I think a part of it is because I don't know a lot of the games that people play, like card games or even board games or things like that, because I didn't do that as a child. And I still feel the nerves in my stomach, like this sick feeling in my stomach when people say, let's play this game. Like, being silly and making a mistake or not knowing what to do still gives me some anxiety. On the flip side, if it isn't a game and I'm with someone who I feel completely safe, oh, I am like the silliest person. I'm playful, I dance around, I joke. I really just let my inner child come out. So I'm still working on the other part, on feeling a little bit more comfortable and just giving myself permission to say, I don't know how to do that, but I want to learn. And it's okay if I lose, like, no one cares. Right. So all of that is indications that, okay, there's still work there for my inner child. There's still some healing and permission to give my inner child. So, with my Summer of Self Love Challenge, it is a challenge to help you increase your self confidence and worth. And one of the practices in it is to connect with your inner child for the very reason that I was just sharing, right? Because as adults, it will manifest. Our unhealed parts, our traumas will come up. And again, that might create more problems in our life than actually keeping us safe. So, in the practice, I guide you to connect with your inner child and write a letter to them. And it's such a beautiful practice. Actually, I'm just getting the download. Let me read to you the letter that I wrote to my inner child to give you a better idea of how you can do this practice. So, what you do is you identify first a time in your life where, when you were younger, when things felt really difficult. And you, the adult, the person right now listening to my voice, you are going to act like a big sibling. And you are going to change the perspective of how your inner child experienced this difficult time in their life. And you're going to check in with them, like, emotionally, to see how they're feeling. Emotions might also come up for you. You might have some sadness come up, some anger. Be gentle with yourself and really allow yourself to feel this. And if this practice feels like too advanced for you or a little intimidating, that's perfectly fine. I'm here for you. So please reach out, and I would love to hold space for you if you want to go deeper with this practice. But basically, you write your letter to your inner child, and then you close it with so much love, kindness, and compassion. And you can do whatever you want with this letter. You can save it for yourself, or you can do a little ceremony with it and offer it to the element of fire. It's really up to you what you do with this letter. But the letter that I wrote to my inner child is this. And what my family calls me is Lily. So I wrote, Dear Lily, I know that things feel very confusing, scary, and lonely right now. I want you to know that it's not your fault. Dad drinking doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. Mom telling dad that she's going to leave him doesn't mean that she's going to abandon you and your sisters. You are doing a beautiful job helping our parents navigate through this difficult time, even though it's a burden that no child should go through. You're such a great big sister, and your sisters will be grateful when they're older for how much that you did for them and continue to do for them. Okay, so I'm getting a little emotional. I want you to know that it's okay to ask for help and to tell an adult that you trust that you are scared and that you don't know what to do. Children are not supposed to know how to do adult stuff. Asking for help doesn't mean that you have failed or that you're doing a bad job. It's also going to be helpful for us to learn how to receive help. Yes, we are strong and resilient and really good at problem solving. However, doing everything alone is exhausting, and over time, it can take a toll on our body. Learning how to play and have fun is also really important. I know that you didn't have a chance to play much as a child, but I promise you that I will now create space for us to do fun things. I know you love to make art and to be out in nature. You also like to see new places. I will try to bring as much joy and adventures into your life and my life, our life. Also know that the experience that you're going through will get better and you will grow and learn so much from it. It's an experience that's going to influence what we do for work in the future. I want to thank you for being so brave, for being compassionate and caring for our loved ones. You have a big heart, and it hurts you to see people in pain. You are a little healer, Lily. You are special. Continue to shine bright and take up space. You are deserving, and it will be an example for others to do the same. I love you so much. Anna. Woo, you guys, I had no idea I would get this emotional. I wrote this letter to my inner child 3 years ago when I created this challenge. And, a lot of life has happened in the last 3 years. And currently, I'm also still dealing with the stresses of not having a permanent place to live with. I'm dealing with some health issues that have resurfaced from the mold toxicity that I was in just last year. And so it has brought up a lot of feeling unsafe, of doubt, of feeling alone. So, not to make an excuse for me on why I'm crying talking to my inner child, but yeah, I am just to share with you and be completely vulnerable. I am in a really tender place right now as well. And so, reconnecting with my inner child and just imagining saying that to her, like flat out just saying it to her as I'm reading you this letter, is what brought up all these emotions. So, thank you so much for holding space for me as you're listening. So, this is an example of how healing it can be simply by connecting with your inner child and writing a letter to them. And so, that's my invitation to you. Download my free challenge so that you get the instructions on how to do it. Also, we're building up to this practice. So, if you're completely new to this, it would be good to do the first 2 exercises as well so that maybe this exercise isn't too activating for you. And again, I'm always here for you. Please send me a DM, send me an email, let me know, what's coming up, even just listening to this episode of your inner child, of listening to my story, and maybe you can relate to it. It is so important for us to give love to our inner child so that as adults, we're no longer having those abandonment feelings come up, so that we're not feeling neglected or so we don't neglect ourselves, so that we're not seeking the validation and approval of other people first. And we just deep down inside within ourselves can feel deserving, feel safe to give ourselves permission what's right to us, to create the life that is right for you, what you desire, instead of continuing to do things because it's what's expected of you and what others want for you, or there's this fear of judgment or whatever it may be, right? The people pleasing, the self sabotage, fear of rejection, like all of that indicates that there's probably some healing to do with our inner child. So if any of this is resonating with you, in addition to my Summer of Self-Love Challenge, I am taking clients for my Radiate program, which is my 6-week course. It's not a course, it's a program, one-on-one coaching where we go deep, and this is what we do. So, to give you an example, my last 2 Radiate clients, they came to me, one because they wanted to bring in more money into their life, and the other one wanted to learn more about manifestation. Well, for each client, there is a lot of inner child healing that we had to do in the first few sessions to get them to a place where, again, they felt safe, regulated, deserving, open to receive, not so worried about what other people are going to think. And so once we do that, then they're able to be in a place where they're showing up, even just energetically, at a higher frequency, more open, in a place of gratitude. And so that's what allows them to attract and manifest their desires. All right, friend. What an emotional episode today. Again, I really appreciate you. I feel your love already. Thank you for holding space for my inner child and for me. I'm here for you as well. I would love to guide you to connect with your inner child so that your inner child feels safe, so that you, the adult, can show up in your life, in the world, as the beautiful, vibrant, magnetic person who has so many gifts to share with the world, and so that you can receive and create the life that you desire. You are worthy of it. We'll be back next week. Again, please reach out, share the challenge with your friends as well. Let's help other people tap in and connect with their self confidence. And we'll be back next week.